The winter batch of anime is going to start up soon, and you need to know what to watch. From major sequels, hyped up new series, or possible hidden gems, these are some of the most anticipated shows for the upcoming season. Before I begin rattling them all off, please drop a like and subscribe so your most hyped show turns out to be good. Now then, let's begin. First, the sequels of shows I haven't personally watched but you should probably know are about to air. Solo Leveling is back for a second season, with A1 Pictures continuing its adaptation of the uber popular manhwa. Apothecary Diaries is back after roughly 1 year, with OLM still in charge for the second season. The scientific shonen series Dr. Stone comes back for its 4th season, with TMS still at the helm. The mega-sized harem, the 100 girlfriends who really love you, is back for its 2nd season, with Bibber returning to animate again. The ever popular franchise Fate sees a return with Fate Strange Fake, as A1 Pictures animates the newest entry. Toilet-bound Hanako-kun is back after 5 whole years for its 2nd season, with Lurch continuing the adaptation. For context on how long it's been, Season 1 started airing the January before a certain virus shut down everything. NG continues Unnamed Memory with Act 2 coming 9 months on from the prior season. Blue Exorcist continues for another 12 episodes this winter, with Studio Volan keeping up with animating the recent seasons. Crustacea Phantom Trigger sees Bibbery animate its actual first season of television after prior movies from a few years ago. Lastly, we see Ashura return for the first time in a year, with Passion again in charge of the light novel adaptation. Now, after all those sequels, we have the wait and see shows. Once I'm going to wait for the consensus after an episode or two, then decide if it's worth watching or not. To begin, we have Honey Lemon Soda. Now this is a shoujo high school romance series, and it follows Uka Ishimori, who's looking for a fresh start in high school after a rough time in middle school. However, she accidentally spills soda on the outgoing Kai Miura as soon as she starts, putting on the wrong foot. Despite the contrasting personalities and the initial tension, the two begin to form a friendship as Kai helps Uka leave her shell. And fearless, Uka begins to start developing feelings for Kai, and you wonder if it will blossom into actual romance. JC Staff is the one animating it, and it's one of the most anticipated romance series for this season. Continuing with the romance anime, we see I'm Getting Married to a Girl I Hate in My Class. Pretty self-explanatory title, but I'll give a bit more detail. Akane and Saito are each other's biggest rivals in high school. However, a wrench is thrown into the ring when they arrange to get married, essentially copying wrestling's greatest storyline, How Will They Coexist? Studio Gokumi and Axis team up to tackle the light novel rom-com adaptation. Continuing with the light novel adaptations, we see I may be a guild receptionist, but also any boss to clock out on time. Hoping for an easy job, Alina is let down by the constant overtime required of her receptionist role at an adventurer's guild. Hoping to leave at a more reasonable time, she begins to defeat the monsters in secret to avoid hassle over extra paperwork. Cloverworks interestingly takes up the Isekai project. Did they do so just because the MC's last name is Clover? Who's to say, but it's one to keep an eye out for. Returning to the romance series, we see Medaka Kuriora is impervious to my charm. At school, Mono Kawaii is the center of everyone's attention due to her cuteness. Get it? Because her last name is Kawaii? Because who needs subtlety? Anyways, well, I in fact lied a bit there, because Medaka Kuriora couldn't care less about it. No matter what Mona tries to do, she can't get Medaka to break the grim look that's always on his face. The rom-com manga sees Synergy SP take charge of the animation. Now with a more action-oriented series, we see Ubel Blot. Threatened by invasion, the Emperor dispatched 14 thieves to deter the invading forces, of which the 7 heroes halted their advance. After decades of peace, the opposing force known as the Lances of Betrayal returned to wreak havoc. However, one group of this militia is entirely wiped out by a man in black with a scar over his left eye. This boy, later identified as Coinzel, soon becomes an object of fear and sign of hope across the land. The popular ecchi action-adventure manga gets an adaptation 6 years after its publication finished, with Satelight and Staple Entertainment at the helm. Returning to romance anime, we see Can You Keep a Secret, which follows co-workers Yui and Masugu, who can't keep their hands off each other, being deeply infatuated with one another. However, at work, they try to keep their relationship under wraps, which gets harder with each passing day as the risk of co-workers finding out becomes a greater possibility. Studio Blade is in charge of the Satan rom-com manga adaptation. Next, probably one of the most interesting anime this season, a MAPPA original called Zenshu. The story follows Natsuko Hirose, a genius animator out of high school whose first work turns into a mega success. They now look to develop their next film, a rom-com about finding first love. However, the problem is Natsuko has never been in love themselves, leaving the film development at a standstill as she can't determine how to proceed covering topics she has no experience with. MAPPA is a premier studio, so there's lots to keep an eye out for. However, the originals can be pretty hit and miss, with some of their worst anime being their originals. Anyways, it's one to definitely keep an eye out for, as if it does hit and has MAPPA's usual quality animation, it could be amazing. Hope you're not sick of romance anime, because we're coming back with Okitsura. The series follows Teruki Nakamura, who moves to Okinawa, and lucky for himself, he finds a girl he likes. Only one teeny little problem, he cannot understand a goddamn word she is saying because of her dialect.
You could teach me some local phrases.
Well, it's very hard to bring them to mind, this is the thing. It's alright when you're sad and not going and happy as us. You understand?
Desperate to make this relationship work, he befriends Nika to help be the translator so the two can understand one another. Millipants is the one animating the rom-com web manga adaptation. Returning to isekais, we have Someday Will I Be the Greatest Alchemist. See, I like this title a lot because it shows how humble the protagonist is. Like, he doesn't know if he's gonna become the greatest, but he's gonna try his best. Anyways, the story follows Takumi Irumi, who gets accidentally summoned to another world by one of many heroes. Hoping for a boring life, he chooses what he believes will be a quite boring skill, creation. However, it turns out to be absolutely broken, making him one of the most powerful people in the world, sparking an unintended adventure. Studio Comment animates the isekai light novel adaptation. More of a reverse isekai here, we see Welcome Ms. Elf. Kazuhiro Kitasa' only hobby is sleeping. What an interesting guy. Anyways, in one of his dreams, he befriends an elf girl, only with the dream ending with them being roasted alive by a dragon. Sad that his dream ended, Kazuhiro wakes up only to know somebody else is sleeping in his bed, and that is the exact same elf girl from his dream. Kazuhiro is now forced to get this Miss Elf through the day-to-day life in this new world to her. ZOG takes charge of this light novel adaptation. A video game isekai here, we see Bureaucrat the villainous Dad's been reincarnated. This follows 52-year-old Kenzabaru, who wakes up one day not as a 52-year-old Japanese bureaucrat, like he would normally expect, but rather some blonde girl named Grace. Piercing it together, Ken realizes he's in the world of an Otome game his daughter played and has taken the role of the arrogant villainess. The only problem is Ken cannot play this role, acting as a well-mannered Japanese man, causing the story to derail from its main course. Aija Do is in charge of the animation for this comedy isekai. Next we see the action ecchi series Bihanako. After a knight dies, he is not reborn as a human, but as a behemoth, one of the strongest monsters in the world, but he just so happens to also resemble a tiny house cat. Later at the Village of Death, an elf adventurer saves the cat rather than ending him, starting a weird new adventure together. Zero J and Zeroworks come together to animate the ecchi fantasy program. Next up is more of a slice of life series with Flower and Asura. Within the small island of Tonakajima, there is only a population of 600 people. On this island, Hana loves to read stories to the children, which catches the eye of Mizuki from the broadcasting club. Recruited by the club, Hana begins to gain new experiences and forge new relationships that changes her outlook on life. The Ultra manga gets animated by Studio Bind. Next up, we see a medical mystery with Amaku MD Medical Detective. At Tenekai General Hospital, the difficult patients end up at a general diagnostic department. Here lies Tako Amaku, a doctor able to handle any mystery handed to them, whether it be reasons behind an illness or the causes of mysterious death. Project number 9 takes charge of the mystery novel adaptation. The last of the wait and see shows we have Anyway, I'm Falling in Love with You. Mizuhara's 17th birthday kinda sucked. Her parents forgot about it and the guy she likes has no interest in her. Mizuha is then met with a new twist as a longtime friend confesses his feelings to her, asking for them to go out. Thinking on how the relationship will change based on this request, the feelings of others around her soon begin to shift as well. Typhoon Graphics animate the Shoujo Reverse Harem series. Now into the last section, the shows I will definitely be watching from episode 1 and what I'm most excited to watch. First up, we have My Happy Marriage Season 2, and I just watched the first season recently and thought it was pretty decent and I'm excited to see where the second season goes. So a brief overview, it follows a girl who lives up abused by her family after her mother's death and the father remarries, in a feudal Japan setting. She gets into an arranged marriage with a man who is believed to be a cold-hearted asshole, but he's actually a bit of a chill guy. I'm interested to see where it goes from here and how they flesh out the supernatural elements a bit more, as it's more uninterested and hope they can flesh it out more. Also, I'm hoping Mio becomes more of an interesting protagonist, as I need some more emotions from her other than her just smiling or crying. Maybe getting mad, give her a third emotion, something, but it's something to flesh out a bit more. Second, we have the highly rated sports manga, and one of my favorite mangas I personally read last year, Medalist. It follows Tsukasa picking up work as a part-time figure skating coach who runs into Inori, who secretly gets to use the rink by giving the ice attendant worms. Not seen as being able to do anything well, Inori is desperate to try figure skating, despite reluctance based on her age. Seeing himself in the young girl, Tsukasa asks to become her coach and promises the girl that he can make her into a gold medalist. As I mentioned earlier, it's one of, if not the best manga series I've read in 2024. Amazing art, complemented by characters at different levels of psychopath skill, made me invested in a sport I only watched out of the corner of my eye when my mom puts it on during the Olympics. Now, do I have high hopes for the adaptation? That's another question. See, if it was a major studio animating it, maybe, but I don't know if NG's gonna be able to do it justice and make it a mega success, but I can only hope for the best. Worst case scenario for me is that even though it's an okay adaptation, it gets a lot more people to read the manga, and that's great for me because I think it's a must-read series and one of the best sports manga out there right now, if not of all time. The last show to talk about is the big Shonen Jump adaptation for the season, Sakamoto Days. If you want the quick version, John Wick but his wife lived. If you want the longer version, Sakamoto is the greatest hitman around and a member of the Order, a fearsome group of the deadliest assassins. However, after falling in love, Sakamoto leaves the underworld in order to raise a family. Years go by, and as upon a more plump appearance, a large bounty is placed on Sakamoto's head, dragging him back into this bloody world. Only, there's one small problem. Sakamoto made a promise to his wife. and that if he kills anyone, she will divorce him and take the kid. Truly horrifying. Thus, Sakamoto must use his combat-trained body in a way to not end others' lives while protecting those close to him. I'm a big fan of the manga and have been reading it for a couple of years now, and it starts off a lot more comedic, but really sets into a more dramatic action series with a large variety of great fights and characters, while always keeping its original goofy nature in the back pocket when needed. TMS Entertainment is the one animating it, and it's my most anticipated show for the winter season. And with that, these are all the upcoming anime you should be keeping an eye out for. If your most anticipated show was not mentioned, that's okay. There are only so many I could talk about, but comment any I did not mention. If you want to see every show airing, the link is in the description down below. With all that said, thanks for watching, and Ptok out.